bright red moon means that the apocalypse is about to start. He swirls his glass of wine in the air and drinks to the start of the end of the world. Suddenly, the moon explodes with a bright burning heat, and the four people outside immediately feel it. They make a run for the hotel lobby, but Dahai is too slow to keep up with them. The moonlight suddenly feels burning hot, and their skin starts to burn from the heat. The people inside the hotel notice that the outside has become just as bright as if the sun were out and it were daytime. Dahai's men wonder whether he will be all right, but one of them mentions that he is probably just flirting around with the girls, and they should leave him to his happiness. As they are talking, Xiao Qian, Xiao Yu, and Li Na race back into the hotel lobby, looking like they just had a fight for their lives. They roll around on the ground and look around desperately for something to use and cool off. All the while, their skin looks burnt and red. Xiao Yu notices a fish tank, and the three of them dive into it to try and cool off. While they're inside, they argue with each other on who can stay in the pool and who should get out. Dahai's men wonder what they are doing and why they look so injured. More importantly, they wonder where Dahai is and why they ran back without him. Xiao Yu realizes that they abandoned his brother outside, but by then it's already too late. His skin is burnt worse than the others, and he has blisters all over his body. Everyone rushes to take care of him before he collapses. Meanwhile, Mr. Sun asks Duanya why she isn't drinking the wine. Before she can answer, Gao Qiang cuts in and tells him that a banquet has already been prepared for him. Mr. Sun doesn't care, though. He's only concerned by the fact that Duanya didn't drink what she was offered. Nobody in Shangdu dares not to drink the wine he pours. He tells Gao Qiang to back off since this is none of his business. At that moment, Duanya realizes that Gao Qiang had set her up. He must have done it to try and climb up the ladder and win Mr. Sun's favor. The large man thinks he's invincible in Shangdu and that he can go around harming many women, and today it seems like he targeted her. She's completely certain that there is something wrong with the drink, and she must not take it. However, there's nothing she can do to escape this situation. At that moment, the moon shone with a bright red burning light. The light blinds both Gao Qiang and Mr. Sun for a moment, before they both rush to close the curtains because of the heat. The two men are sure that something horrible is going on, and they decide to go downstairs and find out more information, while Dawn sighs in relief that a distraction like that had saved her from something terrible. Downstairs, everyone in the hotel had gathered in the lobby to try and escape. Manager Louis urges them to calm down and tells them that a rescue team was on their way to take them to a more secure location. The people don't seem convinced, and chaos starts to burst out in the lobby. Meanwhile, Gao Qiang makes his way downstairs and asks someone what's going on. He explains that there was a sudden temperature rise, and the news had reported that hundreds of people had already been injured. Mr. Sun tries to call up one of his friends to send someone to pick him up from the hotel, but they tell him that right now, they're working to make sure that there aren't any power issues, and because of that, nobody is available to come over and pick him up. Dahai is still burning in the corner from his direct exposure to the sunlight. His men tell him that he needs to go to the hospital while he screams in pain every time someone touches him. But with it being so hot outside, there's no way they will be able to get to the hospital. He tries to call one of his other men, Xiao Dao, to drive over there and pick him up. Xiao Dao is already in the underground garage of their real estate headquarters, and he starts driving out to go and pick them up at the hotel. Because he's underground, he can't feel the heat as much as others can, until he drives into the street and notices that everywhere is bright, as if it were still daytime. Then, his tires blow out, and the car stalls on the road. He's forced to step out of his car and run back to the building. He calls Dahai to tell him about the car blowing out, but his attention is diverted to something more painful. His shoes were dissolving with every step he took, and he tripped, falling to the ground. He opens his eyes and sees that there is a completely melted and dissolved body lying beside him. He screams and tries to get up, but his skin sticks to the floor as he does. The heat had already melted most of his face and stuck him to the ground. Back at the hotel, all that Dahai and his crew can hear are loud screams coming from the phone as the heat roasts Xiao Dao on the ground. While all of this chaos goes on downstairs, Su Chen sleeps comfortably in a nice, well-air-conditioned room, without a care in the world. Almost immediately, breaking news reports circulated on the TV, warning people that the weird temperature anomaly had already taken nearly 100 lives. It advised people to stay indoors to prevent skin and respiratory burns. The heat is so powerful that not too long later, the city's power grid blows up, leaving everywhere without electricity. Dahai continues trying to call back the driver, but the line never connects. It seems like Dahai is no more, and on top of that, all the other rooms in the hotel have been fully booked. Dahai and his group had to resort to taking the last room available, which they will have to share with Xiao Qian and Li Na. The two girls are not pleased about this at all, and they complain that they will need a separate room. While they're arguing, the power goes out, which means that the air conditioning also stopped in the hotel, causing the building's temperature to rise rapidly. If they don't leave the room, they'll suffocate from the high temperature. While the men struggle to take off their clothes and try to find a way to cool down, Xiao Qian remembers that Su Chen had booked the presidential suite, and it even had a pool. If they kicked him out, they could take over the place for themselves. Su Chen himself enjoyed the night by swimming in his room's personal pool. In his last life, the city's electricity had hidden dangers due to improper maintenance. No matter how much manpower was invested, the city's electricity still exploded despite everything they tried to do. Because of that, all the users connected to the city's electricity were affected. That's why he specifically chose a room with a pool, and he also prepared multiple vertical air conditioners with large backup batteries to ensure that the room stayed at a reasonable temperature. He uses his spatial abilities to summon some of his stored ice, as well as a large table of food to enjoy himself with. It's only the first day of the apocalypse, so he's planning to start it with a simple breakfast. As he's about to start eating, a loud knock comes from his door. He opens it up, and the men and girls outside immediately notice that inside the room is so cool. As soon as he opens the door, they notice the lineup of air conditioners and the multiple blocks of ice that are keeping the room cool. The women shout at him for being selfish and enjoying all this luxury while they roast outside. They try to force him to leave the room for them, while Dahai reminds him that he owes a lot of money to his business. In order to pay back the interest of the past few days, all he has to do is give up the room to the older man. Otherwise, he will throw our protag out by himself. Su Chen is having none of that and pulls out a gun as self-defense before firing a shot right at Dahai's stomach. He warns them that if they take one more step forward, then he will take another shot. The sight of a gun causes them all to freeze while Dahai stares down in shock at the bullet wound in his stomach. Since they haven't left his doorway yet, he takes another shot, this time at Dahai's leg. Then he tells them that he'll count to 3, and if they haven't disappeared from his sight, then he'll unload more bullets at them. The group doesn't need any more info, and they escape while they can. Back in the hotel's lobby, Gao Qiang demands to know why there's no food in the whole hotel. Manager Louis apologizes and tells them that a few days ago, someone booked 1,000 tables for a banquet, and because of that, they almost ran out of ingredients to cook. They were supposed to get another delivery today, but the heat wave is clearly stopping that from happening. Since there isn't enough left, Mr. Sun demands that all the water and food get brought to him instead. The people in the lobby protest at that, and they try to attack him, but his thugs just barely protect him from the crowd. All the while he sits back, not even bothered that there's an entire crowd of angry people trying to attack him. Then suddenly a group of people ran into the lobby, shouting that Su Chen tried to kill someone. Gao Qiang notices that Dahai has gunshot wounds, but he knows that there aren't many people who can get their hands on a gun. It seems like there's a tough character living upstairs. Xiao Qian announces to everyone that Su Chen's room has electricity, air conditioning, and even a swimming pool. That catches everyone's attention, and she verifies that she saw it with her own eyes. There was even lots of food and ice cubes, which made the room seem like heaven compared to the sauna that was in the hotel lobby. The crowd rallies together and makes their way upstairs to confront Su Chen, and Dahai orders his men to follow them and make sure that Su Chen gives up his room no matter what. The crowd reaches the door to the residential room, and when Su Chen opens the door, they get a taste of the cool air in the room. They all beg him to allow them to stay in his room, while a kid peeks his head into the room looking for the fried chicken that Xiao Qian had mentioned. Once he spots it, he runs into the room in a frenzy, desperate for a taste of the food, but a food to his stomach sends him flying back into the crowd. That causes the crowd to go into a frenzy since he kicked a child. They determine that someone like him doesn't deserve to stay in such a luxurious room. They try to rush at him, but he pulls out the gun and shoots blindly into the crowd, taking out one of the people standing at the back. As the man drops dead to the floor, he reminds them that he may be alone, but they only have one life. Downstairs, Xiao Yu screams out once he notices his brother is outside, lying down in the scorching sun. The rest of his brother's men hold Xiao Yu back from running outside, as his brother is already long dead. His wound was already infected and rotting, and because of the high temperature and there was no medicine to treat the wound, the man passed on. Xiao Yu knows exactly who to blame for this, and it's the man that shot his brother in the first place. The man himself is currently being seduced by Xiao Qian and Li Na, who are trying to remind him how much she loves him. They tell him that he couldn't shoot them, and he was just trying to scare Dahai and his crew. They beg him to let them in, and if he does, they will do whatever he wants. He sees how desperate they are to be with him, and finally decides to let them in. Before they can do so, Xiao Yu charges through them, aiming to kill Su Chen and take revenge for his brother. That causes Su Chen to declare that anyone who crosses his door will die, before he brings out a baseball bat and sends Xiao Yu flying with one hit. He flies back, knocking into the two women behind him and sending them all down to the ground. Now that they've seen his violence for himself, the two girls don't want to go anywhere near him, so he tells them to get lost in his sight. They drag the knocked-out Xiao Yu away, and he glances up at the armed surveillance system that he mounted up beside the door. If they hadn't left, they would have died, regardless of if they managed to take him out in the process. Outside, a cargo of armed military vehicles drives down the burning streets towards the hotel. The tires have been modified into treads, and the windows have been insulated to make sure that the rescue team can survive the journey to the hotel and back. One of the vehicles parks in front of the hotel, and some armed men in insulated suits step out and enter the hotel lobby. They ask if Liu Zhengguo from the academy is in the building, and he steps out from the crowd towards them. The rescue team is there for him, and only him, and they give him the insulated suits to put on so he can leave with them. Professor Liu is a geological expert, and he will be able to play an important role in stopping the disaster. The rest of the people in the lobby yell out in protest, because they are trying to rescue only one person instead of the crowd of people that were also trapped in the hotel. One of the men announces that the authorities have already launched a separate rescue operation that will take place at midnight, which is the coldest time of the day. Once nighttime falls, they can all make their way to Silicon Valley Plaza, where they will find the rescue point. The others in the lobby celebrate that they will soon be rescued, but not everyone is satisfied. Mr. Sun rushes towards one of the insulated guards and demands that they give him an insulated suit so he can leave with them, but the guard is easily able to restrain him. With no other options, he orders Gao Chang to snatch up one of the insulated suits for him, but they can't move with several guns pointed at them. The soldiers turn to leave, but Xiaoqian stops one of them and tells them that there's a murderer upstairs. Lina also announces that the murderer has a gun, and he has killed several people already, and he almost killed them too. One of the soldiers, Xiao Feng, decides to stay back and investigate the situation. The other soldiers warn him not to be too impulsive and to focus only on completing the mission, but he declines and assures them that he will contact them after dealing with the situation. He heads up the stairs, and Xiaoqian celebrates the fact that after Su Chen is shot dead, then she will be able to stay in the room and wait for rescue. Xiao Feng sneaks up to the presidential suite, but then he notices a camera watching him through a plant in the corner. Before he can process it, the door opens, and 2 bombs are thrown out. The first is a flash bomb, which immediately blinds him. Then the second is tear gas, which causes him to cough uncontrollably. While he's trying to regain his senses, Su Chen sneaks up behind the soldier and hits him with the baseball bat, knocking him out cold. He wakes up a little while later, tied to a chair and still feeling the effects of the gas and the blow to his head. And the first thing he notices is that the place is very cool. Then he sees Su Chen looking at his military ID while holding his gun. He also realizes that he has been stripped down to his underwear, and all his armor has been taken as well. Now that he's awake, they can talk. But the soldier is more interested in how an ordinary guy got so many ice cubes and air conditioning. He's also curious about how he got access to so many weapons and flash bombs. Su Chen tells him that he's a recent graduate, and he got the guns and everything else during a trip to the Middle East. The story is completely unbelievable, but there's nothing our protagonist can do to change that. So he instead switches to asking more important questions. Su Chen wants to know if the government has set up rescue points for citizens to go to in the morning. The soldier is shocked that he knows about that, but Su Chen doesn't ask, and instead he explains that being exposed to the moonlight for more than 10 minutes can lead to fainting, and this will cause many people to die on the way to the rescue. Xiaofeng knows this, but there's no other way to save people. They have established safe zones and modified rescue vehicles in the area, and all they need is for the residents to reach the rescue point on their own. All they need to do is to wear some sort of insulated blanket, and they should be able to survive the walk to the rescue point. Su Chen places a hand on his shoulder and goes behind him with a gun pointed at the back of his head. The soldier begs for a moment for our protag not to kill him, but Su Chen cuts the ropes and sets him free. He respects the soldier's work and decides to let him go, but not before warning him about the mounted guns on the ceiling. If anyone comes after him again, those guns will activate, and no one will survive except him. He understands and decides to leave peacefully, but not before all his guns are confiscated. The people in the lobby notice that the soldier left without telling them anything except advising them to wear insulated blankets while they head to the rescue point. Mr. Sun slaps Gao Chang in anger and blames him for everything not going his way. The others wonder just how long they will have to deal with the annoying man, but they have no choice for now. Once the rescue team has taken them in, they will need Mr. Sun's connections to live comfortably. Su Chen watches from the shadows and asks if Gao Qiang wishes to restore order even in times like these. The 2 men immediately become hostile once they see him, but he calms them down by telling them that he is only there to make a deal. To calm them down, he shows them a bucket filled with edible ice cubes. The 2 men go wild for the ice cubes, and one of them suggests that they kill Su Chen and go get more ice from his room. Su Chen politely counters that idea with an assault rifle to the throat. Gao Qiang seems to have more common sense and suggests that they make a deal with him instead. Thanks to that, Su Chen agrees to give them both some cubes of ice while they negotiate. The other man wonders just what is in our protagonist's room when just a cube of ice feels this good. Gao Qiang decides that for now they'll agree to his demands, then they'll look for a way to kill him later. While they're enjoying the ice, Mr. Sun notices them enjoying the ice cubes and attacks Gao Qiang for it. The bigger man tells his subordinate that he better bring out better stuff next time, else he will be dead meat. Then he takes the bucket of ice cubes and enjoys them for himself. As he's eating, he notices Duan Ya in the corner, still fully dressed in her suit despite the fact that everyone else has stripped down because of the heat. She glares at him while he mocks her for being too modest, but that only causes him to grab her by the hand and try to pull her away because he's in the mood. She pulls back and slaps him across the face for touching her, and he retaliates by ripping apart her suit jacket in anger. Then he threatens to have his way with her right there in the hotel lobby for everyone to see. With her jacket gone, he notices that she's actually soaked with sweat, and he offers to take the rest of her clothes off. That's the last straw for Gao Qiang, and he finally stands up to the large man. Mr. Sun is frightened by the voice for a moment, but he turns around angrily and asks Gao Qiang if he really understands who he's talking to. However, Mr. Sun doesn't realize that he's talking to a man who doesn't care anymore. Gao Qiang takes a knife from his back and jabs it into the larger man's neck. The people in the lobby freak out now that another person has been killed. Gao Qiang tells them that Su Chen is right. The world is ending, and people like Mr. Sun need to die along with it. Now with that guy dead, the place fell under Gao Qiang's command, and everyone else can either listen to him and go to the rescue point, or stay there and die. Su Chen watches them from a higher floor. It seems like his words are effective, and since Gao Qiang was the boss of the hotel in his last life, he has successfully accelerated the process of him taking over the place. Later, the new boss of the Green City Hotel enjoyed a large drink from the bucket of water that Su Chen had given him earlier. Both Li Na and Xiao Qian beg at his feet for him to give them a little water out of it in exchange for anything he wants. He throws the water at them and tells them to follow him so he can have them do whatever he wants. As the two women fight for the water on the ground, one of Gao Qiang's men asks if he doesn't plan to head to the rescue point. The boss disagrees and tells them that since it's doomsday and they want to survive, then they have to rely on themselves. The rescue point is a kilometer away, and if they don't make it there alive, then it's certain death. Since they are low on supplies, then they should not be taking freeloaders with them. Gao Qiang agrees with that fact, and he decides to take a page from Su Chen's book by keeping them as cannon fodder. Once midnight hits, it's time for people to start heading towards the rescue point. Several people wrap themselves in blankets and leave the hotel towards safety. Ever since Gao Qiang took control of the supplies, the rest of the people in the hotel haven't been given any food or water. Staying in the hotel would be certain death, but if they head to the rescue point, then there might be a slim chance of survival. The large group of people walk along the empty roads with boards tied to their shoes, but even with that, the heat is still almost too much. One of the survivors trips on the boards and falls down on the incredibly hot asphalt. She immediately melts on the ground while the other survivors continue on without her. At a time like this, no one knows if they will be able to survive, so there's no time to worry about others, even if they are family or loved ones. Xiao Qian and Lina wrap themselves in and get ready to leave the area as well. In the hotel, they only have enough snacks for about 2 days, so they're especially excited to reach the rescue point and eat as much as they can. But before they can leave, one of the men rips the towel away from Xiao Qian. He tells her that Gao Qiang gave them food, so they shouldn't be so quick to leave. He tells them to have some fun with him instead of leaving as he rips Xiao Qian's clothes. The two of them beg him to take them to a room first before they start having fun, all while Su Chen watches everything from the top floor. In his last life, he went to the rescue point with the others, but no one told him to bring a blanket. So even though it was only a short kilometer, many people died on the way there. At least with his advice from earlier, more people should be able to survive the trip and make it to safety. Meanwhile, the two girls continue to beg the man to let them have some privacy, but he laughs at them and asks what they are even afraid of. It's not like there are ghosts in the area. As he says that, 2 zombies break through the glass into the hotel lobby. Gao Qiang and the others in the lobby scream as they walk slowly towards them, and Xiao Yu wonders if they will also get turned into zombies if they get bitten. Gao Qiang grabs the other man by the neck and throws him at the zombies as a distraction, and his skin burns as soon as they touch him. After seeing all of this, Su Chen finally decides to join in on the action. He heads downstairs with a katana on his back and tells the other people to move aside. They're surprised that he wants to deal with those things by himself, but Gao Qiang tells them to watch and let him do what he wants, and once he kills them, they will kill him. Meanwhile, Su Chen watches the zombies as they growl at him. In his last life, corpses that get exposed to sunlight will mutate, but they aren't actually zombies, which means that they won't spread the virus. He calls them drought demons, and they are similar to monsters of the same name in a popular Chinese mythological creatures book. These drought demons actually retain some memories and attachments from when they are alive, and in Mr. Sun's previous life, he was killed by Gao Qiang, which should make him hold on to the desire for revenge, which in turn made him into a drought demon. So because of that, the zombified Mr. Sun completely ignores Su Chen and runs over to kill his murderer instead. As for Dahai, he died from the bullet wounds that Su Chen gave him, so he rushes towards our protagonist instead. The large drought demon lunges a clawed hand at the smaller man, and he's easily able to dodge. Then he rushes towards the other drought demon and brings his katana down, straight through Mr. Sun's head, slicing the drought demon completely in half. As he dies, a small purple crystal comes out of his body and floats in front of Su Chen. In the last apocalypse, where Gao Qiang was the leader of the Green City Hotel, he must have gotten his powers after killing Mr. Sun in his last life as well. That means that the crystal will always appear inside Mr. Sun. This is the crystal nucleus that can give normal people superhuman strength. Now it belongs to him, and he can use it to greatly improve his abilities. He barely even has a second to grab it before Dahai rushes towards him in blind rage. Instead of fighting him, Su Chen leaps over the rampaging drought demon and lands safely on the stairs. Now that he has what he came down for, the rest is up to Gao Qiang and the others downstairs. With no other choice, the boss grabs Xiao Yu by the neck and throws him towards Dahai. That manages to knock the man and his zombie brother into their supply of water. Then he yells for the others to find weapons and attack. Meanwhile, Su Chen pours himself a drink and dissolves the crystal in it. In his last life, these crystal nuclei occasionally appear in the skills of drought demons and other mutant beasts. They are extremely rare, and it only appears inside everyone in 100. To get the power from them, one has to clean the crystal nucleus thoroughly, then swallow it directly. Once the crystal is fully submerged in the drink, he downs the entire thing in one gulp. The effects show immediately, and his body bursts with so much power that his clothes immediately explode. He screams out in pain as his eyes grow red before finally collapsing naked on the floor. Downstairs, it seems like the zombified Dahai is dead. Gao Qiang stomps on his head in anger and yells for it to move, but it lays motionless on the floor. Killing it also took out their last source of water. Without any water, Lina decides to try and escape to the rescue point, but one of the men grabs her and says that he will cut off her legs if she tries to run again. She begs him to let her go since, without water, everyone there will die of thirst anyway. Then she tells them that if they let her go, she will tell them a way to deal with Su Chen. That interests them, and they urge her to speak before they kill her. She tells them that Xiao Qian is Su Chen's finance, and if they attack her at Su Chen's doorstep, then he will definitely open the door so they can ambush him. The men agree with her, and Xiao Qian is shocked that her own sister would suggest using her as bait. They turn to grab the ex-fiancé, and she tells them that she will cooperate with their plan. But first, they need to find her some food. She specifically wants some meat. That's not possible since the meat in the electric fridge has already spoiled, but Gao Qiang has an idea. He gives her a knife while the other men gather and hold down Li Na. Then he tells her that if she wants meat, then it's up to her. Xiao Qian catches on quickly and realizes that they want her to eat her own sister's flesh. She thinks about it for a moment, then turns to Li Na menacingly while holding the knife. Li Na starts screaming as Xiao Qian walks towards her. She tries to beg and remind her that they are sisters and that she shouldn't do this. The other woman doubts her words and if they are really sisters, since not too long ago, her so-called sister had suggested that they use her as bait. Without even thinking about it, she takes Lina by the neck and stabs the knife into her stomach several times. As she brutally murders her sister, even Gao Qiang and his men watch on in surprise as she tells her dying sister to blame herself for this happening. Then she laughs over the body as blood pools around her feet. Now that lunch is secured, she laughs crazily and promises that once she has finished eating, she'll go upstairs to his room and drink his blood. Gao Qiang tells them to let Duanya cook the meat since they will need all the strength they can get to deal with Su Chen. One of the men tries to protest, but the boss reminds him that without water, none of them will last a day, so if they don't want to turn into a dry corpse, then they should do as he says. The man is reluctant, but he eventually shouts for them to look for Duanya. Meanwhile, Su Chen has woken up and decides to rest his powers. He realizes that he has gained physique-type abilities, and his resistance to heat has also improved. On top of that, even his muscles and his strength have increased as well. He tests his new power by crushing a large block of ice with one hand. As he stands and admires his new abilities, a knock comes from his suite door. It seems like someone else has come to his door to bother him. He looks through the security camera and notices that it's Hell's chef Duan Ya waiting for him. Outside his door, she waits anxiously for him to open up and let her in.